My ex-husband, 35, and I, 29 female, have been married for 10 years. He was the only child of an elderly couple. I've taken care of his mother for my entire marriage since she needed a caretaker. 5 years ago, I found out he was cheating. We'd signed a prenup that said we would leave with the assets we had entered the marriage with. I didn't have a full-time job because I had to take care of his mother. I didn't get a salary from my caretaking, but I spent my entire marriage taking care of her and her various health issues. It didn't have a clause against cheating. I spoke to a couple of lawyers and they said that even if the prenup is thrown out, which it may or may not be depending on the judge, my husband has an inheritance from his father and can afford to bleed me dry in court. However, the prenup had a 10-year clause. I stayed for another 5 years and let him believe I had no idea of his side piece. Some people choose to stay and reconcile. I decided to stay and make sure I didn't get screwed over. I filed for divorce after 10 years of marriage and my husband was blindsided. The assets were split down the middle and I was essentially compensated for my caretaking. He's calling me cruel and calculating for what I did. He's also scrambling because there's no one left to take care for his ailing mother. I told him to use his inheritance to buy her a caretaker that she can't take advantage of and abuse. Now I have a boyfriend and I'm really happy with my life, but I still get messages from my ex-husband blaming me. Am I the idiot for staying in a marriage for 10 years to make sure I got alimony? 1,000 times not the idiot. He had no problem using you as a free care worker, which denied you income and any retirement savings to save himself money for hiring a professional for his mother. Further, he placed that care on you and gave you room and board in return. Some people get paid weekly, and some get paid at the end of the job. Your job got crappy, but at least you got paid. Karma is my boyfriend. Taylor Swift, Mum, I implore you, maybe the mistress can be his mom's caretaker. Absolutely, it's unfair for someone to take advantage of your kindness by using you as a free caregiver without acknowledging the significant impact on your income and retirement savings. It's commendable that you took on such a responsibility, but expecting you to shoulder that burden without proper compensation is not right. My only thought is how OP carried on for 5 years, completely fooling the guy. That is stellar on her part, Oscar-worthy. LOL, it looks like the ex is not the sharpest tool in the shed. OP, you got compensated for time served. A question for your husband is, was it also calculated when arranging meetups with his mistress because he knew his wife would be busy with his mother? Honey, you played his game and won. He's just mad that he couldn't have his cake and eat it too, because now he can't be a married single guy with no care and no responsibilities. He needs to look after his mother and do what you were doing. Let him stew while you move on, and let his mistress deal with his crying fits. And don't marry the new boyfriend. Drain that alimony. Everyone's the idiot here. I just think it's a waste of one's 20s to stick around with a cheating partner that you know you'll divorce. OP, I mean, you aren't a saint because you cheated and stuff. I don't think this is the win you think it is. You wasted your 20s. Time is worth more than any amount of money. Also, I fundamentally disagree with being entitled to be paid to take care of my family. You were married, so his family became yours. I, 36 female, am married to Dan, 34 male. We've discussed having kids in the future. I found out last year, though, that I have a low chance of naturally having a kid. Fertility treatments in my area are very pricey, and my insurance only covers it after a certain amount of trying naturally. I'm pretty old, so my chance of naturally conceiving is low anyway, but initially I didn't want kids, and that's only changed since meeting Dan. We've saved up for a round of IVF, but it was unsuccessful and a sore topic for both of us. Dan wants to discuss it, but it's something I struggle with. My mother-in-law is a lovely woman, but she can be invasive. My sister-in-law had a miscarriage and my mother-in-law was very helpful, staying with my sister-in-law and helping out around the house. Still, she has a fix-it mentality and asked my sister-in-law about trying again, adoption and fertility treatments pretty soon after. She didn't mean it maliciously, but I know if I told her she would have the same questions for me that I'm not prepared to answer. I initially told my mother-in-law we didn't want kids, but she kept asking me why. I told her Dan didn't want kids actually to get her to stop. She started asking Dan why and he was upset at me because I'd lied to his mom. Am I the idiot for telling mother-in-law her son didn't want kids to avoid her awkward questions? You are the idiot. You didn't owe your mother-in-law any sort of explanation or justification, but it was a bit slimy to throw your husband to the wolf to escape yourself, especially by giving a false reason without his prior agreement. He's justifiably annoyed at you. Straightforwardly handing the issue over to your husband or drawing a line in the sand yourself and telling her that the topic wasn't up for discussion would have been honourable, but you took the coward's way out. Yeah, her husband should throw back, "Actually, I want kids, but OP hates them. Can't stand the little things." And then OP can enjoy the same experience her husband is having. Like, why do that to someone you care about? OP had a variety of ways to end this without throwing her husband under the bus. OP is the idiot for lying, but why is the mother-in-law not Dan's problem? That is his mother first and foremost. Question to OP, why is he not stepping up and taking over this situation? Did you properly convey to your husband the toll it takes on you when your mother-in-law asks these questions? I agree, everyone's the idiot here. Your mother-in-law sucks for being so nosy and not leaving you alone about having kids. I don't know how some interactions went, but did Dan attempt to handle his mother? Did he try to get her to back off and leave you alone? If not, he also sucks. I know there's no easy way to deal with nosy relatives, so I don't blame you for trying to find a way to shut your mother-in-law down, but this was not the way. All of that said, I'm sorry you're going through this, and I wish you luck wherever the journey takes you. I, 27 male, have a sister, Alexis, 25, and a fiancée, Sophie, 26, female. Alexis gave birth to my nephew last year. She wasn't with the baby's father, so she's always known that she'd be raising the baby on her own for the most part. The father comes around to look at the baby and leave. He pays child support, but they agreed on the amount themselves before the baby even got here, and that amount is not nearly enough to raise a child. When Alexis was 2 weeks postpartum, she said she was having it hard and couldn't do this on her own anymore. Our parents' house is full because our other siblings still live there, so she can't go there. She asked if she could come and stay with me for a few weeks till she recovers and finds her footing with motherhood. Initially, I thought there was no way Sophie would be willing to host Alexis and the baby for an indefinite amount of time, but Sophie said she felt horrible for Alexis and would feel guilty if we didn't do all we could to help her. So Alexis moved in nearly 10 months ago now. Neither of us expected her to stay this long. Still, whenever we discussed with Alexis whether she was planning on finding a place and going back to work, she'd rant about how hard motherhood is and how she couldn't fathom adding something else to her plate. But don't get me wrong, I understand her. My nephew is very fussy and doesn't sleep well. But Sophie and I cannot keep living like this. We've had to adjust every aspect of our lives to accommodate her and my nephew. We live in a one-bedroom apartment, so we set up a bed and everything else in the living room for them. She asked us to put up a curtain so she could at least get some privacy, and we did. So we haven't had a living room for 10 months. We've been eating, relaxing, and everything else in our bedroom. We can't cook or get a snack when the baby is asleep because only a curtain separates them and the kitchen. We considered giving her and my nephew the bedroom, but Sophie works from home and her entire work setup is in our room. She also can't take work calls in the living room where someone might interrupt her. Anyway, I could go on and on about how horrible this living arrangement has been, but we'll be here all night. I sat Alexis down and asked her whether or not she was making a solid plan to get a job and move out soon. She said she could never afford to pay rent if she worked part-time. We brainstormed ideas, but nothing was good enough for her. Eventually, I told her that she needed to start looking for a solution because this had gone on long enough. I said I'd help in any way I could, but it's been almost a year of this, and we cannot carry on like this. She says she won't make enough to pay rent, bills, and daycare as a single mom. I suggested that she get more child support from the dad and take him to court if he refuses. She wasn't fond of the idea because she thought it would make him not want to see his son, and she didn't want her son to grow up without his father. I told her if she doesn't want to take any of my suggestions, but also not think of any herself, then I'm giving her an ultimatum to get a job and move out in 4 months. She said that isn't enough time and I'm basically going to kick them both out into the streets. I said I would help her in any way I could, but I wanted to move on with my life and my fiancé, and I couldn't do that with this current situation. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She needs to apply for government benefits and take her sperm donor to court so she can try to get on her feet. You've been overly accommodating in a taxing living situation, especially when neither you nor your partner are the parents. She's taken advantage of the situation. If she didn't have you, you can bet your butt she'd be working on getting herself together. Give her the website and phone numbers, which honestly she should do herself, and tell her to get cracking. She can't hold your loves hostage forever. Honestly, I'm unsure what she can do to get out of this situation. It doesn't sound like any job she could get would pay enough to cover her own living costs, never mind with a baby on top of it. Child support needs to go up, yes, but unless baby daddy makes significantly more, it's probably not going to even cover childcare. She's screwed and should never have had a baby with this guy. She is totally unprepared financially. She can go back to her family home, but she doesn't want to because they will also push her to get real child support court-ordered. She continually makes bad choices. I'll probably get bashed for saying this. If she can't support the child herself and won't take the baby daddy to court for child support, maybe the best option for the baby is to give the baby up for adoption. Give the child an opportunity to have a loving family and a good life. I agree with you, though I was thinking she should have given the baby up for adoption right after his birth. That kid is already growing up without a father. What difference would it make if she took him to court? She had months to make changes and figure this out, and was probably counting on being able to freeload off you indefinitely. You need to get her out of your home, now. Alexis will stay until you push her out the door. Don't be deterred from your timeline, no matter how big her tantrums get. I was in a friends with benefits relationship with a woman. I didn't know that she was married. She told me that they were separated. I started having feelings for her, and I confessed that I wanted to build a future with her. She came to me the next day and told me that she wanted to move in with me as her ex was making her divorce difficult. I was like, sure. The first few weeks were good. She would clean and cook for me. Then she started messing with my things, telling me where to put my keys, how I go out whenever I want, etc. She became so irritating and naggy, so I lost feelings for her and kicked her out. She started begging me to give her another chance, saying that she wouldn't bother me and that she'd left her husband for me. It turns out they weren't separated. She was cheating on that poor idiot with me. I told her to kick rocks and never contact me again. She's now spreading the rumour that I love-bombed her, that somehow I manipulated her. Her husband isn't letting her get back and is going for full custody on grounds of abandonment. I don't blame him, but I think he's overreacting, although it's none of my business. She's been harassing me on social media. She was blaming me for stringing her along and using her for intimacy. So, am I the idiot for dumping my girlfriend who left her husband for me? I don't blame him, but I do think he's overreacting. Dude, you are also living in fantasy land. She's spreading lies about you on social media after deceiving you as well as her husband, yet you think her husband is someone who overreacts? Trust me, if you think you've seen the worst of her in just a short time, then you should consider how much he has had to deal with after being married for a while and having kids with her. You were probably just the last straw. Consider setting the record straight on social media, as her lies could affect you negatively. You are not the idiot here. Exactly, she literally moved in with OP. So what is it if it's not abandonment? The husband didn't overreact. I suggest you tell her if she won't leave you alone, you will send anything and everything about this to her husband to help with his custody and divorce cases. Then she will at least have a reason to avoid you. Also, I would send it all to him anyway. He deserves it to help rebuild his life as much as possible. Yeah, she sounds like a train wreck. She was cheating on her husband with you and used you when her husband kicked her out. Why would you give a chance to a cheater? If she did that to her husband, she would probably do the same to you. She even lied to you about her relationship with her husband. She only wants to get back together with you because she needs a place to stay. Just block her and have no contact with her. She is a troubled person and it's not your responsibility. Just learn your lesson and avoid making the same mistake in the future. 4 years ago, I married my now husband, who has a son. His son is 24 years old and his university graduation was last Monday. My relationship with his son isn't strong, considering I married his father when he was away at university. However, we're on good terms of mutual respect. I'm always present at his important events, and he was also present for mine. His graduation was supposed to be not this past Monday, but the Monday before, so 2 weeks ago, but it got postponed for this past Monday. The problem was my childhood best friend, who's like a sister to me, had a birthday this past Monday, and she was travelling the night of her birthday, so we had the birthday party in the afternoon. I'm also one of the party organisers, and this girl is the closest person to me, even closer than my husband. I couldn't leave her at the same time. It was the graduation that got suddenly postponed while I already had plans. Knowing this, I texted my stepson saying sorry that I wouldn't be able to show up and congratulated him on his graduation, and he responded nicely. My husband was annoyed and wanted me to skip the birthday to attend the graduation. I told him I couldn't and that it wasn't my fault the graduation got postponed. I also said we were hosting a graduation party for his son and his friends at the house. I'm coming, so I'm still celebrating him, just not on the official day, but that's because I have my plans too. The graduation got changed. If I'd known before that the graduation would be this past Monday, I would have asked my friend to have the party after she returned. She wouldn't have declined that because she wanted me to be present as much as possible. But we already organised everything and invited everyone. We couldn't just cancel at the last minute. His graduation party came. I gave him his gift and congratulated him again, and he looked fine, but his father and his mother too kept side-eyeing me the whole night like I was a criminal for not throwing away every plan I had. My husband still gives me crap for it. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. The graduation was suddenly postponed to a day when you had important plans already confirmed. Plus, you still hosted a graduation party for your stepson. I'm not sure your husband understands that it isn't just your plans but the plans of your best friend who is travelling the night of her birthday. It's not right to impose others' plans just because your plans have changed. Yet this seems to be what your husband thinks is appropriate. I think you were caught in a no-win situation here. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. All of this, but to me the key point is that the stepson was okay with it. OP married his dad when he was 20. He probably met OP in his late teens. OP and stepson are probably just friends, adults and friends, which is acceptable in this situation. Yet dad wants to push this idea of one big happy family. Most likely, the stepson didn't care too much about OP coming to begin with. It seems like dad is overcompensating or projecting here. He may be overly concerned about everyone meshing, or perhaps he feels unsupported being without his wife during such a milestone. It doesn't read like this is the son's gripe at all. OP, you had existing plans. Later on, you helped throw a party for the graduating fellow. You congratulated him and gave him a gift. Enough is enough. Your husband and graduated guy's parents need to get over it and quit giving you the side eye.